personal growth to business solutions, there is no limit to what you can imagine. It's time to reimagine banking. Centenary Bank, our bank.
Hello and thank you for joining us right here on Luntha Television. It's time for news. Enjoy with me, Jacqueline Saidi. First, the headlines.
Pope Francis renews prayers for quake-struck Morocco. First Lady concerned with education access inequalities. Government challenged to implement transparent and credible public financial management practices. And in other news, airstrikes kill over 40 in Khartoum's market as fighting intensifies.
We have these and more. Stay with us. Pope Francis has offered his prayers and closeness to the people of Morocco, where an earthquake has killed thousands of people. Just a day after sending a telegram to express his sorrow, the Pope publicly expressed his condolences for the thousands of people who were affected. The 6.8 magnitude quake struck on Friday night in the mountainous region southwest of Marrakesh, causing widespread damage and destruction. We have a Vatican News report being read by Tandiwe Mzumara.
Speaking at the Angelus prayer on Sunday, the Pope offered his closeness to the Moroccan people. He prayed for the injured and those many people who have died and for their families. While thanking the rescue workers and those who were seeking to alleviate people's suffering, he said, "May the concrete aid of everyone sustain the people in this tragic moment." Pope Francis concluded by inviting everyone to be near to the people of Morocco. Currently, rescuers are still searching for survivors under the rubble after the massive earthquake. As of Sunday afternoon local time, at least 2,012 people were reported killed and 2,059 injured in Friday's earthquake. It has since been reported by the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs that more than 300,000 people in Marrakesh and its outskirts have been affected by the quake.
The Malawi First Lady, Monica Jagora, has expressed concern over parents' laxity to encourage equal access to education between girls and boys, with statistics showing that the country is number 2 in Africa with highest early marriage figures. She was speaking in Doha during the launch of a Unifying Campaign, an organization of African First Ladies for Development initiative under Shaping Our Future Foundation, aimed at promoting girls' access to education, health and economic empowerment, among others. It was further revealed that Doha tops the number of early marriages in the country. Robert Edward was there and he now reports.
The signing of commitment by Ministers of Health and Education, among others, to reversing the tide of worrying statistics which include that only 5% of girls are selected to secondary schools, with only 15% of children being selected. This is according to First Lady Madam Monica Chakwera, who has challenged parents to help in increasing girl-child access to education, saying the country is second from Mozambique with highest early marriages figures in Africa. She was speaking during launch of a one-year unifying campaign and initiative by African First Ladies Organization for Development, which Malawi will be fighting gender-based violence and promote unified access to education, health, and economic empowerment. Dr. Owen Chikwaza is the chairperson of the campaign in Malawi.
The first objective is we're going to sensitize the community leaders, all those players that Her Excellency has talked about. So there'll be sensitization. The other would be the role modeling. You saw one of the activities that happened, we had paraded the career women, different career women. So we're going to use the role models. We're going to have labs that we call skills labs.
District, the First Lady further quoted statistics indicating that 42% of girls in the country marry before the age of 18 and 9% marry before the age of 15, and called upon community leaders to take the leading role. For Luntha, this is Robert Edward.
The Malawi Economic Justice Network Magen has recommended for a proper budget towards addressing climate change issues in Malawi. This follows a study which looked into government's commitment in financing climate change programs amid gaps in addressing such. Renat Mwanza with more on this report.
The study findings have been presented earlier today in the capital, Lilongwe, where several players in the climate change fight attended. Magen Executive Director Betha Piri says the investment that government puts does not match with the damages that climate change has caused to Malawi, citing the natural disasters that have recently hit the country. She says, for example, the recent Cyclone Freddy has caused a damage to property of over 700 billion Malawi kwacha versus government's investment of 30 billion kwacha towards disaster risk management in the past 10 years, which is the greatest mismatch.
The climate injustices, those that suffer a lot, they are actually the community members, the local people. But the subject matter seems to be very closed, not in the know-how of many key players, particularly the civil society organizations, those that carry on the awareness messages to the people that matter.
A representative from the Parliamentary Committee on Natural Resources, Esther Jorobara, has expressed displeasure over absence of government officials during this meeting, citing its significance in providing solutions to the fight against climate change. However, Jorobara is of the view that it is high time that stakeholders stopped waiting finances in form of carbon levies as agreed by the Conference of Parties, as it has been observed that nothing is being done to help countries on the same.
I don't see that we should continue talking about the Paris Agreement, because the Paris Agreement has failed, and even the United Nations, they do not have any enforcing mechanism to enforce the polluters to pay and compensate the victims.
Malawi has already experienced the impacts of climatic hazards such as localized drought and floods, leading to poor yields, hence fueling further problems of food security and malnutrition. The Paris Agreement of Conference of Parties reaffirms that developed countries should take the lead in providing financial assistance to countries that are less endowed and more vulnerable, while for the first time also encouraging voluntary contributions by other parties. This is Bernard Manza for Luntha News in Lilongwe.
Findings of a study on the COVID-19 fiscal response in Malawi revealed that the country has weak public finance management initiatives, which led to it losing so much money in its response to the COVID-19 pandemic, and as such there is a need to implement transparent and credible public financial management practices to ensure value for money for limited fiscal funds. The study by the Malawi Economic Justice Network, Magen, as a member of the Tax Justice Network Africa, has since recommended that the country should develop and implement progressive tax policies that stimulate economic growth and allow the country to tackle the challenges beyond the COVID-19 crisis. We have more in this report by Tandiwe Mzumara.
Part of the findings fought the country's preparedness financially when it comes to responding to disasters, a situation that leads to the authorities making poor public finance decisions. In her remarks, Malawi Economic Justice Network Managing Executive Director Bertha Lipi-Papiri advised government to increase fiscal sustainability and build fiscal buffers to better handle shocks such as the COVID-19 pandemic, noting that the accumulation of high-cost domestic debt has led to increasingly limited fiscal space for managing shocks and increasing investment.
There was bad response. Things were not articulating so well. We didn't invest much. We were taken by surprise. But this is a wake-up call for government, I guess, that going forward, we are obliged to do better as government.
Whilst acknowledging the findings of the report, co-chairperson of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 and Cholera, Dr. Wilfred Chalamila-Nkoma, noted that there were gaps, especially on the positive outcomes, saying that some of the funds have immensely helped the Ministry of Education to, for example, construct extra classrooms and employ temporary teachers, and at the same time, the Ministry of Health in building special wards for infectious diseases, such as the COVID-19 pandemic.
Important to go back and look at, so where are we now since the last time that they looked at it. Indeed, some of these outcomes, they go over what they used to be at that time. In simple academic English, they say they are cumulative. You can't stop halfway. You need to follow it right through and be able to make a final conclusion as to whether where you stopped is where the things are still. And as we know ourselves, things have moved on. I think it is important for purposes of policy to accommodate this.
Among recommendations made include expedition of the implementation of the domestic resource strategy to provide stability and transparency in revenue policy making process, as well as that seeks to ensure that government gradually reduces its reliance on external and domestic loans, leveraging agriculture sector activities to mitigate pandemic impact, providing easier access to benefits targeted at low-income families, in particular single parents who are predominantly female, and integrating gender impact assessment processes and tools in emergency management, just to mention but a few. For Luntha News, this is Tandiwe Mzumara.
You're still watching news right here on Luntha Television. We'll be back after the break.
Introducing the Central Equipment Identity Registry, CEIR.
Yes, the CEIR will empower mobile subscribers and strengthen their security by allowing them to block or trace stolen mobile phones, check the genuineness of a mobile device while buying, and blacklist mobile devices involved in illicit activities across all mobile network operators in Malawi.
Wow! Chingira! Put your mobile device security first.
For more information, contact MACRA via email dg@macra.mw or call 261 toll-free from any Malawian telephone network. This message is brought to you by the Malawi government via the Malawi Communications Regulatory Authority, MACRA.
Welcome back. If you've just joined us, know that this is time for news coming to you live from Bishop Navy Media Center. And before we move on, let's just have a reminder of our top stories.
Pope Francis renews prayers for quake-struck Morocco. First Lady concerned with education access inequalities. Government challenged to implement transparent and credible public financial management practices. And in other news, airstrikes kill over 40 in Khartoum's market as fighting intensifies.
The Center for Democracy and Economic Development Initiatives, CDD, wants Commissioner for Department of Disaster Management Affairs, Jodma, to inspect implementation of disaster recovery plan 5 months after Cyclone Freddy, and survivors appear to be in more challenges. CDD Executive Director Sylvester Namiwa says that his organization has evidence that some Cyclone Freddy survivors are living on wild tubers, have no houses, and roads remain impassable. Among others, CDD says some Cyclone Freddy survivors are still in camps in various districts despite the 3-month evacuation period specified in the Act. Charity Chiranga with a report.
CDD says this is in reference to Disaster Risk Management Plan of 2023, which President Lazarus Chakwera implemented on June 7th and gazetted on July 21st, 2023. Its Executive Director, Sylvester Namiwa, has said the total disaster-hit districts of Shirazulu, Palombe, Mulanje, Nsanje, and Jikwawa revealed that some survivors are still in camps and many are surviving on wild tubers and mangoes, among other things. Only 4 houses constructed and roads remain in bad shape despite that the rains will fall soon. Namiwa adds the survivors are threatened their tents will be brought down if they do not evacuate, and wonders where they will get money to purchase land upland to construct houses.
We were made to believe that the houses were being constructed. But if you ask those people that are still in the camp, they are being told that they should go and buy their own land, paving way for relocation. Others, they are living with empty promises that they are going to be habited elsewhere. We all know that there are 3 basic needs for a human being, that is food, shelter, and clothing. Now, if you take one out of this, then you are reducing the dignity of humanity. So, as I'm talking to you now, our brothers and sisters that survived the devastating Cyclone Freddy, almost losing everything, including their loved ones, they are living like half human beings. It is for this reason that we have challenged the Commissioner for Disaster to tell the nation if at all we had or we have a recovery plan.
CDD is therefore wondering what is contained in the plan and has since demanded for proper mechanisms to avert disaster this year. Meanwhile, Dodma says they have not received the formal communication from CDD, but will respond when they do. Charity Chilanga, Luntha Television, Lilongwe.
March Milk Company, a Malawian daily processing company, says it produces over 144,000 kilograms of milk powder annually since its launch. In an interview with Luntha Television, the firm's managing director, Madalitso Piri, told us that it is offering a direct market access to over 5,000 dairy local farmers in the country and creating employment opportunities for underprivileged Malawians. Richard Monoka reports.
Dairy farmers in the country have a stable market with the coming in of Mark Milk Company, which is producing powdered milk. The company provides a farm-to-market pipeline for Malawian smallholder farmers and to better enable Malawian products to compete with imported milk powder brands. According to the firm's managing director, Madalitso Piri, the coming in of the company is in line with the Malawi 2063 agenda of creating job opportunities to youth, among others. He said, this provides Malawians a rare opportunity to contribute towards the development of the country through buying and consuming locally produced products.
We saw the problem that the local dairy farmers were facing in the country, especially a lack of sustainable market for their low fresh milk. You know, fresh milk is perishable. So if people don't buy the milk, it will get bad. So we thought of coming up with an innovative solution as to how best can we preserve the fresh milk. So we decided to come up with a company that will be now processing, adding value to the low fresh milk into powdered milk, so that people can use over a longer period of time without the milk maybe getting bad. In so doing, also improving the economic status of the local dairy farmers.
Mark Milk is the first company in Malawi to produce milk powder from fresh milk. It is located at Mpemba in the outskirts of Malawi's commercial city. Bridget Mwanoka, for Luntha News.
The National Initiative for Civic Education, NICE Trust Office in Balaka District is continuing to advocate for a growth mindset change and enabler for the achievement of the Malawi 2063 agenda. In a meeting with District Advisory Forum officers that the office organized in the district officer for NICE, Henry Zakaria, said that there is much that needs to be done to make sure that the vision is achieved. Rashida Matandika reports.
The Malawi 2063 agenda eyes a developed Malawi with independent people and communities in the next 40 years, and according to Zakaria, mindset change is one of the most effective enablers to support the other enablers and the vision's pillars. He said the change should start now in the first decade of the vision, with community leaders helping their people understand that development is not only for national leaders, but it begins from families to communities and the nation.
We feel that this enabler, that is the mindset change, it's very important because, as you know, our country is not has been stagnant in terms of development. And this, what has made the country to be stagnant, is the way we think. So we feel that if people will embrace the mindset change and they implement it, we feel that we are going to change the way we have been doing business as usual. Will change. As a result, we are going to see the people working hard in their respective areas, and also they will embrace the transformative leadership.
One of the District Advisory Forum officers, Gibson Msiankuni, who is also a pastor at Baptist Church in the district, said he will use his position as a church leader to advocate for the cause.
I will take this opportunity and advocate the agenda to my congregation. Usually, we believe that it's the president, members of parliament and councillors to develop our country and areas. But now I'll help people understand that we can develop ourselves while supporting the government to develop at national level.
NICE Trust, with support from the government of Malawi, is training community leaders, including religious leaders, to popularize the Malawi 2063 agenda throughout their areas using different platforms that allows people to meet. The country aims to achieve agriculture productivity and commercialization, industrialization and urbanization, among others, and Malawians are called to hold hands in achieving these milestones. Rashida Matandika, Luntha TV, Balaka.
In international news, airstrikes have on Sunday killed at least 46 people on an open market in south of Sudan's capital, Khartoum. The attack, according to a statement by the Sudan Doctors Union, also left over 50 others wounded in Khartoum's May neighborhood, where paramilitary forces battling the military were heavily deployed. We have an African news report being read by Charity Chilanga.
Sudan has been rocked by violence since mid-April, when tensions between the country's strongmen, Army General Abdel Fattah Burhan, and the paramilitary general by General Mohamed Hamdan Dagalo burst into open fighting. The conflict has since spread to several parts of the country. In the greater Khartoum area, RSF troops have commanded civilian homes and turned them into operational bases. The military responded by bombing these residential areas, rights groups and activists say. The number of internally displaced persons has nearly doubled since mid-April to reach at least 7.1 million people, according to the UN Refugee Agency. Meanwhile, RSF continued to blame the military air force for yesterday's attack, while the military said that it didn't target civilians, describing the RSF accusations as false and misleading.
That also marks the end of our bulletin, but before we go, let's have another look at the headlines.
Pope Francis renews prayers for quake-struck Morocco. First Lady concerned with education access inequalities. Government challenged to implement transparent and credible public financial management practices. And in other news, airstrikes kill over 40 in Khartoum's market as fighting intensifies.
My name is Jacqueline Saidi. Thank you very much for watching Luntha Television, and stay safe.